Jared, so psyched to have you, co-founder of
Thank you.
Rev Genius. What an honor. Take it away, man.
The purpose of today, at least my being here, is to build on the authenticity that video gives, right? Dubb has a sick product, awesome stuff, a lot of CRM functionality, automation, things that you need. But what about the person behind it? How are you leveraging this product, your suite of products, to really drive authenticity to hit your goal? So when these kind folks at Dubb came to me and we were game planning what to discuss, authenticity was the point that kept coming up. And today, as a seller, as a marketer, our buyers are more seasoned and numb than ever, right? And they're used to getting so many touches. They're used to all the cold call scripts reaching out. Hey, do you have 27 seconds for me to tell you why I called? And don't get me wrong, those all work. But how you could add a little extra firepower to everything that you do is by being authentic. And Rev Genius, I don't know how much or how little you've known. We built it just about a year ago. We're hitting 13 to 14,000 members right now in it and helping people leverage community and the principles behind community to truly be authentic. So I want to discuss community. Like, what does community mean? How do you sell in a community? How do you hire or be hired in a community? And how do you network to level up? So these are four major points that I want to address. And people come to me, and you probably see so many communities coming up. When we started a year ago, there was a handful of like pretty prominent communities. Now it seems everywhere you go, there's a different community for something else. And that's great. That's great for you because your needs are being met. But let's talk about what I view community actually is. People are like, get so much. Should we be on Slack? Should we be on Discourse? I was talking to Ruben before because he has a very active community on there. Should we have in-person events now that people are getting vaccinated and all of this? So what is community? Well, community isn't a platform. It's not LinkedIn. It's not Facebook. Sure, people that you're targeting contacts with, et cetera, might live in those places, but that's not what community is. Community is not a platform. Community is the people. Community is why the caveman questions coming in with the Wi-Fi and the jokes and the banter and the actual help and authenticity back and forth work that could be lost. Are you on Slack or Discord, or what are you doing with the people to create what they want? Ruben said that they have big Dumbo ears. That's important, right? Because community is harnessing the people, and community is family. Now, community is more than just people. People is everything that makes up LinkedIn. People are everything that makes up any location, any group. There's audience, right? You sign up for a mailing list and you're probably part of that audience. We all have our favorites. And the audiences are people, but the family aspect are what we do for each other. And this is big, right? This is a big component. Family, how I define family, is a giving mentality, coming as close as possible to unconditionally supporting one another. You know, we all have our tiffs and arguments, but like I'm talking like the perfect family and just being there for one another. So we have the idea of community, but how do we bring it to your business needs? Okay. Like, great, Jared. There's community. How do I sell more from community? I'm looking at this slide. You're telling me not to sell. That is counterintuitive to selling. Yeah, it is. It is. Bear with me though. When you're in a community, even include LinkedIn for this matter, but when you're in a community of people that you're trying to go after, don't outwardly sell, especially not in a micro community. It's actually a rule in many of them because this is a safe place where you could be closer to one another. Do you try to sell to your family? Some of us do, but probably not the best tact, right? The second thing is when you don't sell, but you give endlessly and are helpful, and you could argue like this is selling without selling. Sure. It all depends on how you look at it. I say give away from your business model even. That's how you can ensure that that's not the case. When you're giving endlessly, helping connect your prospects or people in your circles to other people, they will connect you back and it'll come back. And when you give endlessly and be helpful, key caveat, don't expect anything back from that person that you give to. I don't care if it's your number one prospect, your number 5 prospect, your top 10, whatever it is, or any of them that are on your target list. Don't expect anything back. Have you ever had somebody come to you that wanted something from you and offer to do something for you and you say no because you know what that's going to entail? Don't put other people in that situation. Stop that. Stop. And then believe it or not, people come to you. So just by sheer helping others with Rev Genius, you'd be shocked at how much comes to us. Now, this is how to navigate within a community. Obviously, you probably need your outbound sales. You need your emails, you need to send your dubs, and you need to do things like that. But when you're within a community, when you're within your family and you want to build those stronger ties, this formula, it sounds like there's no secret sauce in there. There's plenty of secret sauce in here. Now, let's say you're looking for a job, looking to hire or get hired. It's important to show up. Show up to community hiring events. We have one every Wednesday night on Clubhouse. Had an awesome one last night. We had somebody freestyling and everything. I'll connect you with him so that you could hear him freestyle next week. It was spectacular. Talk about authenticity. He was freestyling. He was getting everybody in the room in a positive light. It was great. But show up to community hiring events. Just by showing up and raising your hand at any events that are out there in micro communities, just showing up and raising your hand gets people to call on you and you speak your piece. We've had dozens and dozens of people get hired at no cost to the company or low. Like sometimes we charge like $100 to post a job, but like maybe we should capitalize on that more, but you get the idea. Now you're hiring, you do that. If you're a candidate, you do that. Just show up. Perfect example. My friend 8 weeks ago, somebody had no SaaS experience. He was a waiter in a casino in Vegas. Great guy. He had some sales experience, multi-level marketing, the antithesis of what a SaaS company is looking for. He just kept showing up to our events, and in 8 weeks, he got his first SaaS role at like an AI-driven fintech company. And it's because he showed up and he was tactful. So number 2 is differentiate yourself from other candidates with video like Dubb and authenticity. Video is an easy way to be authentic. You know, the irony is it's also an easy way to not be authentic. What do I mean by that? I was actually prospected once by a video company, not in the room. They had a canned video with somebody looking into the camera saying, hey, have you tried out Video Company B? We can help you do this, this, and this. You want to talk authenticity? The dog barking in the background is something incredible. I mean, this is as real as it gets, right? So we're a video company from company B, da-da-da-da. I'm like, are you kidding me? This had such an inverse action that video should cause, right? Like I'd rather read a canned written letter. To see somebody be inauthentic visually was like stomach churning, but to see them authentic visually is something that not a lot of people do. And you'd be surprised, like in getting hired, difference of video and authenticity. One case study with video in particular that really worked for a candidate that was new to software sales. He had run a recruiting agency in the past, so he had entrepreneur experience, did well there, but he was still breaking in. After each interview, he'd send a thank you video through LinkedIn, not just to the hiring managers, but to anybody that was giving him help along the way. Also, he'd have 1 to 2 references, not waiting until the references at the end, right? You may never get there. After each interview, hey, here are 2 references. I'm interviewing with Dubb, and I use their video technology after, because if you don't, like, come on, this is like a quick win. But then I also had Mike, VP of Partnerships at G2 Crowd, saying, hey, I know Jared on video. Ruben, I know you buy into G2 Crowd. We thank you. What you don't know is I know Jared well. Jared is amazing because of A, B, and C, and I think he rocks. And then you have somebody else from Enter relevant either to that person you're interviewing with business or just like relevant title or something like that. And now all of a sudden you have 3 people talking in video being authentic, and you could literally see this person being authentic on my behalf. So you could double down on authenticity. What we do in Rev Genius, when somebody's going through the interview process, we all raise our hand to give video help on their behalf because we know they're going to do number 2, differentiate yourself. But sometimes we want to add even more firepower. Number 2 is already enough firepower to get you the job if you're tactful, you're curious, you're coachable, the normal stuff. But having others that like are in the same community, like vouch for you with titles, I'll gladly shoot a video for somebody I know. So you're going through something, you meet me after this, you're going for a job, you do the video and I do it with you. And my network might be bigger than yours, that might help. Oh my gosh, let's get you in. 3, lean in to get help from other community members that have been in your shoes. What does lean in mean? Lean in means show up, but like it's also proverbially showing up. Showing up and raising your hand and participating is leaning in. Asking a question. This came up the other day in getting hired. I know I said always give. You know, the principle is to sell, to give. When you're going for a job, you're selling yourself. What if you don't have any experience? What if you're this new SDR that works in Caesar's Palace as a waiter? You got your video, you got your checklist of things to do, but this one's confusing you because you don't have any software experience. Like, how do you give? The answer I gave was simply put, you could have an SDR to be and an SVP that's been in the game for 15, 20 plus years. The SDR to be is showing up every week. let's say they had an interview last week. They learned to use video. They learned that Dubb is a great video tool and that there's free trials or offers there to make it feasible to use it in the recruiting process, even if you don't have an account yet. Them showing up, they're going to tell one or two other people this advice. And this advice, somebody with 5 or 10 years experience might not know to use video yet. And frankly, somebody with 20 years experience may never know to use video if they don't hear from the person that just started last week in their job search. And then you have the SVP, 15, 20 plus years not showing up. If you don't show up, you can't answer questions and give the value that you have. Sure, you have a ton of value deep inside your head, your heart, all of this. But if you're never there to give it, what good does it do? So lean in, and you just asking the questions and being there, it's like a principle of the world. Like, you're going to get it back. And other people have been in your shoes too. So you know who showed up the week after getting that job, helping the next group of people. And miraculously, there was the next group of people that showed up the next week that hadn't showed up, like older people, more seasoned. But after this guy got a job, and it took a couple months, it's not going to happen overnight, especially if you're learning still. He was there helping people at the drop of a hat. And then somebody else is inviting other people in after he got a job because he followed this, pushing them to the stage and literally yelling at them at the questions to ask. So he was helping others lean in. How to sell and getting hired. I have 3 things on each. I don't have 20 things. There's 3 main things. I mean, obviously I wanted to keep this digestible for y'all for being authentic, but like, if you just do these things and ask me for help, I'm here. Ask Darius and Ruben for help. Certainly, if you know all your video questions and how to be comfortable and all that, you're going to get far better results than it seems. And I remember Darius and I having the conversation after, like, what's the secret sauce? So getting hired is that. Hiring, very similar stuff. If you're looking to hire people, show up. Perfect example. Job boards are prevalent. They're a dime a dozen. LinkedIn has 1 million jobs. They even tell you not to submit applications anymore, submit videos. If Ruben and Darius weren't muted now, they'd probably be, laughing in agreement, right? Like, it's almost like you don't know better. It's funny. I did a experiment right now. I'm 15 years experience. I've been President's Club, top 1 out of 500. I just applied to a job board for 5 AE roles. I got 1 interview out of the 5. So I'll just put that out there. Okay. There could be a variety of reasons. It's very difficult for somebody that's even done well. So the point is show up in video, but show up to events as well. And if you're posting something on a job board looking for candidates, it's fine. You'll have to wade through so many hundreds or thousands of people, depending on the network that you choose, but also show up in the community. Example with this, yesterday, a recruiter for a company in our network posted something on our job board, and they didn't really get any applicants. I mean, it's been 24 hours, but I digress. But the SVP of sales showed up last night to our hiring event, and he has 2 to 3 interviews on the calendar. So what I did was, the one angle, they're like, we don't have any applicants. And I just copied the SVP and I said, are you sure? Not only do you have applicants, but you have interviews on the calendar, highly qualified, moving fast. You're hiring. I have case studies in the last few weeks of Series D startups that found 3 people in sub 3 months, probably sub 2 months, through RevGenius by showing up. Here's a hack. Talk to the community leaders that have experience with community members, whether it's the founders of the community or people in like leadership roles helping out. Talk to them. One manager talked to me and he had a new hire the next week. And what do you know? She closed 5 meetings within 2 days. She was a good new hire. So qualified fast, it cost them $0 to hire. Right now, recruiters are making 25% fees. So think about $100,000, 25 grand. That's worth 25 minutes of your time, I'd say. It's worth a lot more than that, but you get the idea. 3, offer advice. What's the commonality here? Offer advice, give help to others to land the jobs they're looking for, even if it isn't with you. And I've seen this. And what happens is you end up getting other candidates and you end up, and it works. Like, I've literally watched hiring managers offer jobs to people that publicly said that they were looking at other places. They supported that, helped that, and then he ended up coming back and getting hired, and he's happy. He's really happy. You realize that he was maybe going the wrong way. So you're 1 or 2 people, you're trying to sell more, you're trying to get hired. Say you're just trying to network. And obviously there might be an ulterior motive behind here, but maybe you don't know what you want. You might be looking for a new job. You're always in the market for prospects, but like, you're not a shark. You're like, listen to Jared, you want to network. So number 1 is show up and give. And then 2, identify community members who could potentially help you get mentored. If you ask somebody to mentor you, and you get along well with them and they have time, they're probably going to say yes. And if they say no, you get turned down so softly, and it's because for a really logical reason more often than not. Now, keep in mind, the logical reason might be because you come without an authentic self, looking for ulterior motives. So be conscious of that, be aware of yourself. But with that said, we look for mentors for either short or long-term goals, whether to get a promotion at your current company, find a new job, raise funding. Maybe you get a mentor just to help you with that because you've never done it before, fundraising. Learn marketing skills, learn how to do video better, answer the questions here through mentor, etc. All important things, but you could find that person or that group of people in a community. And there's not one perfect person for you. It's probably a combination thereof. And sometimes you just have a question to ask. So do it. Identify the groups or channels within a community that have people with a similar job or goal so that you could learn. In Rev Genius, we have Rev Data Club. If you want to learn more about data, Content Marketing Club. We have Rev League, which is a combination of top of funnel and full cycle reps competing to set up the most meetings. And every week they're talking about different video techniques, cold calling techniques, et cetera. And they're getting free tools to use there. And they're competing. And there's a leaderboard. And heck, I'm giving them t-shirts and swag as prizes. And it's helping them make more money in their current jobs. That's kind of cool. So just joining there has literally changed people's professional lives, where I've watched people go from 2 meetings booked over the course of 2 weeks to 5 meetings in a week within that same month. I've watched people book dozens of meetings a month where they were booking significantly less. The camaraderie is great. The prizes are cool. And just having that connectivity with others is big. So identify groups like that are like-minded, and then be authentic. What does being authentic mean? It means being you. Have tact. Don't always be so raw because you want to be conscious and aware of the other person. But with that said, authenticity, humility, and coachability are some of the most magnetic traits you could have. That's why people say, I'm looking for somebody that's coachable. It's not just a team leader. It's also as a friend. If you give somebody advice to help them and they're cold back and they're like, you're not going to give them advice again. F that. You still might be friends with them, but you're not going to get that extra layer of deepness. So being authentic, and that's what we're talking about today. So in closing, this is how to get in touch with me. I want to hear all your questions.
Tremendous, Jared. From the heart. So good. This is such valuable content, everyone. I just wanted to encourage you guys to really take this advice to heart, because when we suffer from this idea of wanting to be too perfect, if we suffer from this idea of not wanting to hit the send button, if we suffer from this idea of not wanting to record a video because we don't like how it's going to look, there are deeper issues. There are deeper issues that are holding us back from becoming vulnerable to be our true authentic selves. And when we really embrace the idea of self-realization and we understand that we've gone through trauma in our lives, we've been rejected, we've been not called back, we've been ignored, we've been kicked out of board meetings. We've had all these things. We've had ex-boyfriends and girlfriends say bad things to us, or even parents or uncles or aunts or former teachers. And the problem with this type of trauma that we experience is that it holds us back and it makes us not click that send button, not pick up that phone, not want to cold call someone, not want to send them a Dubb video, which I used to suffer from. And now when we get to this point of truly understanding ourselves and understanding that people yearn a connection, they yearn truthfulness, authenticity, that is where the world opens up to us. So I invite you guys to take Jared's advice here to be your best authentic self, because it wins. Thanks, Jared.